name's Leila Philip, and I live now in Woodstock, Connecticut, but I consider myself a New Yorker. I'm from both New York City and the Hudson Valley, up the river in New York State. I have been here before. I'm here for the Bedell Conference in Nonfiction, and I was here, I guess 2 years ago was the last one. So I love coming here. It's a writer's town, and we just talk books and talk writing for days, and then I'll go home. I guess the most common question is, how do you get published? And that's, really hard to answer. But I always encourage people just to write and write what they love and really try. And if you persevere, there's so many outlets for publishing. I mean, they're changing fast now, but especially online, etc. I think the point is to get your work done first. I mean, that's my real advice, is to write what you need to write the best way you can do it, and then think about audience and venue. Unless you know you want to write for a certain magazine or a certain newspaper, I mean, that's different, because then you really do need to know your audience. And newspapers and magazines have certain expectations of form and content and style, and it's best to do a little homework about that. But I think that and how do you get started, those are the two big questions. And I think I roll my eyes a lot, because how do you get started? It's, beginning is half a lot of the time. Getting the energy up to start a story. I think it's about believing in it. You've got to really believe that the world needs this story, the urgency. I think that's, once you connect with that, you find a way. All the other questions answer themselves when you're, there are craft issues that come up, how to tell it, etc. But I think that connection with why you're doing it is really important. Oh my goodness. It changes. I used to, before I was married, before I had a family and a dog and a cat and a lizard and a, rambunctious boy running through the house, I used to have a really quiet sanctuary space, and then I learned to write almost wherever and whenever I could. I think it is really important to have a safe space, whether it's in your mind when you sit down to a place, or for some people they need a physical place. But I think more than the place for me, it's the time. I'm a morning person, and I have found that if I can write first thing, then I have that connection to whatever I'm working on all day. So for me, it's more about timing than location. But I think there are no rules in this, and I also think it's really important to be honest with yourself. And if you need a certain few elements, go for it, because there are no shoulds. It's just getting the work done, and it's hard enough. Writing takes time. It takes a kind of space in your mind to really be with language, to be with your thoughts. And I think for me, the real killer is when I get too busy with other things and I carry that mentality of sort of get it done now to my work. It just doesn't work that way. And then you're sort of harrying yourself on the page. And so I think those are the worst circumstances, when you can't sort of close the door mentally or physically on all the pressing demands of life. And I think it's, for just about everybody, it's gotten worse. I mean, we are just so busy now with the internet and the phones we have that we have to have everywhere. I mean, it used to be, you were unusual if you didn't have an answering machine, right? And now it's, if someone can't find you on your cell phone 24 hours a day, you must be dead. It's just ridiculous how plugged in we are all the time. And I live a pretty unplugged life compared to many. I'm not a corporate lawyer. I'm not a CEO, right? I'm a college professor and a mother and a writer, and I have to keep my cell phone with me in case my son needs to be picked up or something's happened at school. But still, with email and everything else that's come along with the pace of life, I think it's harder to make time, make that slow time where you have the illusion that you can have all day, even if you have an hour. Because otherwise you feel rushed when you work, or at least I do. And then that's that's very toxic to being fully creative. I really have been paying a lot more attention to that now because, as I just said, as we get busier and busier, I think we need to take it more seriously. I love to walk. We have a dog, and so it's great. I walk the dog. I love music, and I never studied music, but I learned how to play piano by ear, and I'll often just sit and just hear the sounds that a piano can make is really kind of clears my mind and quiets me. I think it's easy to get kind of wired up and jacked up on all this busyness that's going on, and I think whatever it takes to settle you down. But I also I love to cook. So sometimes just chopping vegetables will help me kind of chill out. You know, I've been trying to make sure I don't do that in a way, because I think sometimes we can censor out what we really need to say because it makes us uncomfortable or we're not really ready to hear it. You know, so I think actually I journal in the morning. I actually don't like that word. I wish I hadn't said it, but I keep a kind of daily morning log. I used to years ago, and I stopped for a long time, and I've returned to it. And I find that a useful place to flesh out ideas, and then I'll get to work on, say, the essay or the poem or the story, whatever it is I'm actually working on. But I think that's kind of like my bank account of thoughts and feelings and ideas. Sometimes a piece of work will start there, but I think it's really important not to cut things out too soon. You know, or if you feel like you have to do something with them, put them to the side, and then when you have the energy, go back and address it and see if there isn't something there. I'm not sure I know of any particular thing. I feel like there's a lot I haven't written yet that I'm really eager to write, and I feel like I have notebooks full of ideas for this poem or that essay or this story or this sketch, and I guess you're always trying to make it better. You know, if I'd written something that I felt pulled it all together, maybe I wouldn't need to keep doing it. But the challenge of figuring it out, or how to discover the next challenge, the next sort of mountain to climb, or whatever metaphor you want to use, I think that's a lot of the fun of it. I mean, there's so many different kinds of writers. All I can talk about is really what my beginning was, or what my compulsion. And I think I was always that person who, maybe we all saw there was an elephant in the room, but I was the one who said, there's an elephant in the room. And I don't know where that compulsion comes from. I don't think it's the moral high ground or some innate sense of justice, although I think I have a keen sense of justice. It really upsets me when people do bad things. I think the sort of paradoxes and contradictions of people are really interesting. But so I don't want to make it sound like, you know, for me writing is some kind of moral act. I think it's an exploration, but I've always been really fascinated by people and the things they do, appalled, thrilled, you know, amazed, the whole gambit. But I guess for me, I always want to know why, like all these questions about what I was seeing. But I also think a kind of primitive desire to say what's happening, and it's kind of curious to think, where does that come from? I mean, I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and sometimes 8, because some of my cousins were with us a lot of the time. So I'm like at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of kid hierarchy, you know. So why would I be the one who is feels the compulsion to say what's going on. I think it's just in any family maybe, or in any constellation of people, there's one person who feels either so amazed by what's going on, they want to share it, or so appalled by what's going on, they want to share it. And I think for me it's been, you know, both at times. I mean, depending on what I'm writing about. Sometimes I'm sort of horrified by what I see, and I want to explore it, like what's behind that? How could that have happened? Or how could people be that way? Or what's the motivation? But other times I'm just amazed, you know, sort of at what's going on. So I guess that's what I would say.